everyone. Welcome to our podcast episode at High Level. We call them the Spotlight Sessions, where we bring in top leaders in the world of marketing and sales. Today, I have Marcus Wiseman, the founder of RFM Digital, joining us, and we have a jam-packed agenda ahead of us. Today, we'll be discussing the power of creating once and selling repeatedly. And in that discussion, we're going to be covering balancing personalization and customization, establishing a consistent process for achieving success, and then last but not least, the cone of learning, enhancing your retention by teaching others. Marcus, we put a lot of time and effort into putting together this discussion moment, but most importantly, these action items that someone can take and make theirs in their business. So I want to say thank you for joining me today on this. If for the audience that is not familiar with you, could you maybe share a little bit about you, where you're from, your company, and your story?
Sure, absolutely, John. And first of all, thank you for having me. I watch these spotlight sessions and they're very helpful. So I'm honored to be here, and I hope that I can share something that helps someone else along their high level journey. I got into marketing as a magazine publisher, and if you don't know anything about magazine publishing, it means I sold a bunch of ads. We were very one dimensional; it was all print, and I literally could make anybody my client, from the local high-end grocery store, the kid who mows lawns, to major insurance agencies, financial services. Um, I was all in. I jumped in with both feet, as they say. I burned the boat. Before I had a magazine, the way it works is you have to get a certain number of sales before you can actually get that magazine. So I was hitting the streets, and through cold calling, I managed to sell, about $60,000 worth of ads before I was able to go to print, as they say. And in doing so, now I had my own magazine. I'm the publisher. I had my team, and we were able to distribute a magazine, on a community level. That taught me a lot, but a lot of it ended up being really bad habits. It was a terrible business model for me once I learned a little bit more about it. And the more I did it, the more I realized, hey, I got to do something different. Before I chose that, I was looking at digital marketing, and I had about 50 clients I was communicating with. And I actually became a high level client through another agency. And I had this great piece of software that I could use to segment my contacts. So all my realtors would get one email, all of my insurance agencies would get another email. And in doing so, it was really good for me because I had used HubSpot before. It was clunky, it was very expensive. And this solution was better. And as I continued with my journey, I started to like the products and services that I was finding in high level way more than print. So I separated from print, and I had this thing that I knew was really great, and I didn't know how to market it. And after going direct to high level versus being under a white labeled agency, I still struggled because I'm bad. I have shiny object syndrome, and you guys have so many. Every week when I hear Sean coming at me with some new product, I'm like, great, Sean, this is something new to just distract my whole week. But I was one of those guys who had to know how everything worked. So I jumped in, I'm watching videos, following this guru, paid for a course. A lot of things that now on my journey, I tell people, don't do that. Pick one or two things and get really good at those one or two things. The client knowing that they have all the other stuff from high level, that'll, be a plus, but focus on a couple of things because you can sell one service very easily. But that was part of my journey, going from a client to an actual user and then an agency, figuring out how to package this gigantic bundle of tools. I use an analogy frequently that if I give you a helicopter, great, got this nice helicopter, it's shiny, you see it's valuable, but if you don't know how to fly it, it's just taking up space. But now if I give you a pilot, and that pilot can take you places in the helicopter and train you how to use it, now all of a sudden it becomes more valuable. So early in my high level journey, I realized that I needed to provide that pilot with high level and give my clients the training and teaching to help them get started with their first few campaigns and that.
That's the most special part about when we do these spotlight sessions, is where people will share their story and their experience. And there's many versions of it, but a lot comes around the topic of, I learned about it, I dove into it, I became a practice person, in at it little by little by little, and I become good at it over time. And that good, better, best starts to be a reality. And it's amazing to hear from you because we have seen a lot of people from the traditional media world, right? The print, the paper, the signs, the billboards transition their conversations into the digital part of things, but not just promoting, with ads, but systematic approaches, operational approaches. And tell me a little bit about who you serve and who you've worked with to help them get out of that experience of, I don't know where to start.
Sure. Another part of my journey is it took me a long time to niche down. Um, Being a magazine publisher, like I said, I could serve anybody. And it was tough to stop trying to work with anybody who had a working credit card and focus on repeatable services. And by that, I mean, we've had the conversation and I told you customization kills profit. If I have to remake this tool for every business, a realtor wants certain things, a mortgage guy wants certain things, a grocery store or a restaurant wants certain things. But if I just say, hey, I work with life insurance agents and I help them find a specific kind of life insurance client, and I repeat that service over and over, it makes my day so much easier. There are times when I have, back to back multiple sales calls, and I feel like, man, I said the exact same thing. And it was so much easier than having to customize it. Ivan Meisner, who founded the BNI, Business Networking International, is famous for saying, if you build it one time and sell it 1,000, it's so much easier than building 1,000 things and selling each one of them once.
So powerful. And although there are millions of ways to do things, what is the most efficient and the most practical for what you do every day? And it sounds like you help your clients kind of bring that together.
Yeah, I think I picked a niche that requires leads. And selling life insurance is not easy. You've got to talk to a lot of people. You've got to have a certain personality because most people don't want to talk about end of life, or it can be a tough conversation. But for any industry that requires or burns through leads, they need a way to get more leads consistently. And most people don't know how to do that. HighLevel makes it really easy to connect to your socials, to run paid ads, to do email. I mean, there's so many ways that you can um, do outreach and track where everything's coming from. I think that uh, I think that there's so many tools here that if you just pick one or two, I mean, you don't have to be great at social. Paying social ads is your thing. Great, run in that lane and max it out, and then maybe add another component. But I think so many people, including myself, saw so many different ways. I had the text message campaign going here, an email campaign, and I had several average campaigns. And what I found is, hey, if I just focus on, one lane and get really good at it, then maybe, we can add staff later that can be the email team or the SMS team or the paid ads team. But for me, I got really good at reaching out with life insurance agencies. I'd make a friend and eventually show them the tools I had and get invited to that Tech Tuesday call or that group call. And now I've got an audience where they give me 15 to 20 minutes to give a quick demo of one or two features at HighLevel and the benefits that they provide. And all of a sudden now I've got really high intent people interested in using the software.
Yeah, and if I'm a marketing agency or I'm getting into becoming one, for me, I'm trying to find my first client, right? And I'm trying to, solve everyone's problems. And maybe I'm trying to put myself out there as the generalist. Um, with what your experience has put together for you, and you've helped others solve their problems, how does someone balance that personalization, customization, maybe with their offer or their superpower to help their ideal client?
I think it requires a lot of discipline. Um, Working with a lot of business owners, I find that many of them are not disciplined because nobody tells them what to do. They run their own shop, they do it their own way. And every now and then we do need that sounding board or that person that says, hey, no, you're going down the wrong path. Stick back to the plan. That's why we write out goals so that we can say, hey, I'm off track. I'm not following the plan. Having the discipline to say, yeah, that $3,000 website really looks good, but it's totally outside, my wheelhouse. My days of going to a freelancer and finding who could make the website and now managing them and keeping track of that project, that's just a distraction. What I've found for my business is best is to build the monthly recurring revenue and in the process provide really good support because the people who need the higher margin services rebuild themselves. If all of a sudden we're doing just a basic subscription to our software, and I've white labeled mine, I call it Scaling Suite. And if there's anything I could help out somebody who's new in their journey, if you have an agency and you're offering HighLevel as well, you should separate them both. And that's my opinion. And I'm getting that from a lot of people that I follow. And the reason why is, let's say you package up your HighLevel offer in a higher ticket offering. So maybe you're $2,500, $3,000 a month, and it includes your HighLevel offer. Well, eventually they're going to stop paying for that. And when they do, if they cut off your HighLevel as well, you've lost that customer. If you package it up and have your software business separately, now you give them a really low entry point, 197, 297, whatever you include in your package. And now they're using the service, and now you can bolt on additional higher margin services to that. That's what I've seen a lot of people be successful in HighLevel doing, and that's the way we've set up our business as well.
And it sounds like if I'm brand new at this, I'm hearing from you. Take advantage of the white labeling portion of HighLevel, because what I'm going to provide as an agency is going to be unique to what the platform will give in addition.
Yeah.
So if I'm serving a series of clients that have similarities, how do I go about balancing that offer or that personalization and customization? Because I can I can go a couple different routes. In your experience, what could you share for someone to maybe keep in mind when doing so?
I've talked to people in the HighLevel community, and a lot of them are overly cautious about someone finding out, oh, you're just using HighLevel. And for me, I made that really easy. Most of us are familiar with WordPress. If someone said, "Hey, your website's on WordPress," yeah, it is. Most websites are on WordPress. I think it's like 40%, 50% of all websites are on WordPress. And so I say, well, yeah, my scaling suite is built on the HighLevel platform. HighLevel has an amazing suite of tools, but we customize and we add in a few extra options. My clients can create a Facebook ad or a Google ad in just a couple of mouse clicks. And I include that in my standard package. My clients can click a button and purchase leads. They can click a button and get access to a virtual assistant. So we provide some things through our HighLevel offering that you're not going to find in the standard HighLevel offer. And I think by building those customizations based on the needs that my client base has, my insurance agents typically go through, hey, I need leads. Hey, I need more leads. Hey, I need better leads. So, we'll start them off in a package where they've got our scaling suite, and our essentials plan, and it's just the basics. So now they can connect all their socials. They can track where the leads are coming from. When they want to crank it up a notch, then, we'll add in the component of them being able to run the social ads. If they want to crank it up even more, they can add in my team, who's going to actively participate in their lead generation with them. So in doing so, I find that, the clients who are doing really well, maybe now they need a lead system automation. Maybe they need onboarding automation. So then we bolt on the additional services through Make.com or Zapier to turn what was their CRM into their lead management machine.
Yeah, so maybe you have so if somebody's listening to this like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So if you niche down, or you have a group of, let's say, home service businesses, and tier 1 is for them to just we get back to their potential customer calling in, right? So maybe it's a missed call text back is
Yeah,
part of tier one.
yeah,
Maybe it's an automated email. I received your email or I received your inquiry response, and then maybe it's a handful of a follow up from there, right? That would be tier one. Tier two maybe includes some of the lead automation or some of the branding and awareness. And then tier three. So it sounds like you have this kind of set up already where your team could just plug them in and get them going
yeah.
based on your niche.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing I noticed is, that first 20 days is so crucial with these new clients. And so we have an onboarding system where we're setting up their systems for them. I don't want to take somebody brand new who's an insurance agent and say, hey, you have to go and set up this A2P 10BLC. What is that? So, we've done it so many times. It's like, hey, we can knock this out for you in a couple of minutes. And in 24 hours, you're going to have a working two-way texting system. Um, and then we sit them down and we walk them through what a journey would be. Hey, where do your leads come from? They come from Facebook. Great. We've got this automation that we're going to add in so that if someone responds to this message, it's going to collect their name, their email, and contact information, and you can add them to a campaign. So we take them through that journey and teach them one or two things to get them using the system every day. One of the basic tenets of running a SaaS business is if your client's not logging in and using it, they're going to cancel. And so we want them in the system and using it every single day because the more they do, the easier it gets and it becomes a part of their day.
Yeah, it sounds like you've also have balanced out the personalization within your onboarding and education like portion of bringing on a new client. So, you walk them through, let's say, their customer journey, their journey with you as your customer. So there's that understanding. So you're not creating a fresh email every time. You're not creating a fresh set of bullet points. This you have everything kind of structured out so that way everyone is on the same page from staff to customer and their team.
Yeah, and we try and run everybody through the same process. And of course, there'll be some people who say, "Hey, I don't really need that," or "I don't want that," or "I'm interested in this." I have some referral partners that if it's totally outside, my wheelhouse, I don't do SEO. So rather than thinking I'm going to go to YouTube University and figure out SEO, I go to someone who I know I can trust, and I give that referral, to which they reciprocate by giving referrals back. And I don't necessarily do it for the referral back. To me, if my client needs something, I know I have someone who can, solve that need for them and do a great job of it. The client will be happy with me for doing so.
And that's powerful, building upon that referral network, staying obviously aware and up to date of what's out there, what your client may potentially need. Um, for someone that's listening to this that maybe is not where they thought they were, or they're open to new changes, how do you go about creating that consistent process? Are there some tools? Are there some SOPs that you've put together to achieve that success? Because I mean, right from the top layer, it sounds like a great idea. Yeah, we'll have a consistent process that we put all of our clients through from education to implementation. And I'm sure people are asking, like, well, how do I do that from scratch?
Great question. So I feel like I made every mistake you could possibly make with HighLevel. I I probably had at least 125 snapshots. I mean, there was a time when if you had a snapshot, I was tuning in because I needed that tool. And now I really don't do that anymore because I figure I have a tool for pretty much everything that I want to do. Certainly there's new stuff out there for everybody. But um, again, don't try to take the entire high level platform on. I mean, I don't even touch the app center. You guys have all these new apps. That's like, I'm not going there. I mean, I know that there's powerful stuff there, but right now I'm not ready for that. I don't need another shiny object. Um, Chat GPT, any of these, large language models have been so helpful. If you don't know anything about running an agency, you could sit down in a day, you can create an entire SOP using industry best standards. If you can put together a good prompt, even if you can't put together a good prompt, you can tell ChatGPT, hey, I want to run a marketing agency and can you write me a prompt to generate an SOP for client onboarding? And in 15 minutes, you've got something that you can make a few edits to, put it in a Google Doc, make a Loom video as you're onboarding a new client. And now you could train an VA to do that, and it's repeatable. And if you go through the same set of processes, eventually it's memory. And all of a sudden, if something pops out of whack, you know exactly where it went wrong because you've got a system.
Powerful. So, what as a listener on what you just shared, I'm thinking leverage ChatGPT, the free version. The benefits are obviously if I upgrade that is more information, more updated information, right? So I can use ChatGPT. Part of what you shared before with balancing personalization, I can use a video tool to pre-record maybe my onboarding. If I'm working with a specific niche or a specific, industry or vertical, I could at least put some videos together that I can send out and give them essentially, the pre-boarding,
Yeah.
get them familiar with what I'm going to talk about, and then leverage, email to send out and those automations to maybe time it based on their actions and something so basic. Sometimes we overcomplicate. At the end of the day, what I'm understanding from you and your experience is take what you've learned, share it how people consume their information, whether it's video, a course, email, or verbal, or a live call. But in order to scale that, you need to record it so that way they can watch it at their pace.
Yeah, so everybody who comes in as a new Scaling Suite client, they get a video introduction, which is me welcoming them, thanking them for choosing us and trusting us to help them with their business. And it gives them instructions on what items we need, where they can upload them. Depending upon the level, our premier onboarding system will create a client headquarters for them and give them instructions to upload their assets, their logos, their images, any of the video assets that we might need to run ads for them. And it shows them, I think, a level of professionalism so that, once they click that button and they put their credit card number in, they're seeing professional results that are happening automatically, whether it's, 1 o'clock in the morning or, on a Sunday afternoon when I'm definitely not working, but they're receiving information and they're seeing a professional first impression of my business. And I think that helps them with their journey. The last thing we want is someone to make a major payment and then wake up tomorrow after they haven't received an email or response and think, man, did I make the right decision? Maybe I should cancel this. So we want to create that great first impression and keep it going all the way through, their first month and through setting up that first successful campaign. Well,
First impression and organization in a standard operating procedure. If A makes a payment, B then happens. And mapping it out, right? Whether it's on a Google Doc, just what would you expect if you gave a $2,500 payment or a $5,400 payment or whatever it is? What would you expect immediately thereafter? And I find that to be so powerful because depending on where that person is in their journey, in the marketing agency role, or freelancer role, or transitioning from maybe print media to digital media services, we we bypass that so quick, and that customer experience is what keeps them excited about every point of the journey.
yeah, I think so many people enter so quick to focus on sales. And, selling can be a problem. If you start selling and you're successful and you don't have a system in place, then you're going to have a lot of upset customers. If I could give someone advice on what to do, it would be work out what's your plan? Like you said, if someone's going to make that investment into your business, what expectations do you think are reasonable? And how are you going to meet those expectations? Is it going to be something that works great, 9 to 5 when you're sitting in front of your computer? Or is it going to be something that you can automate to make sure that whenever your client is ready, they're going to get the same experience? And, through the automations and HighLevel, and heck, even if you had to add on a few other things, there's so many ways that you can automate and give that great first impression of your business. And that's going to lead to a happier client.
Yeah, and I think when we had spoke offline, that cone of learning um, you know, not necessarily having to fall every time to learn something, but doing the process repeatedly, making sure you understand it, making sure you're always adding value every time you do it. So that way you can teach others. And as you teach others, you become even more better at it because they're looking at it a different way and sharing their feedback. In your experience, could you share some scenarios or some past experiences on how that's helped you in your kind of creating once and selling it over and over?
Yeah, so you refer to the cone of learning, and that was something that I learned a few years ago. And essentially, we're in this TikTok society where everything happens in a 1 or 2 second video, and our retention, I think we're somewhere right around the same as a goldfish. So our attention span, we can lose focus on something in a matter of seconds. Um, the cone of learning refers to the amount of retention that's present from any new skill or thing that we learn. So if you read something, you retain about 10%. If you hear a lecture, you might retain 20. Watching a video might jump your retention up to about 30%. Actively participating, meaning you're demonstrating or you're in a discussion group, can increase it, 50 to 75%. But teaching others, if you have to actually prepare yourself to make sure, John, we're going to talk about me showing you how to create this onboarding automation in Make. I have to make sure that all of my information is correct. So I might put together my study guide. And then as I'm teaching you, I'm retaining it better. So I found that one of the best ways for me to learn something is to teach it to someone else. I've taken some expensive coaching courses, and I might take a segment and say, "Hey, I had trouble with this portion." Someone from one of my networking groups, "Hey, I'm going to be going over closing a high ticket sales call. You want to go over that with me? I'm going to be using notes from this coach or this group. I don't want to charge you. I just want to practice myself." You'll walk away from it with some skills that you didn't pay for, and I will improve upon the skills that I'm developing. So that's an example of a way that I use that for my business.
Yeah, and sometimes depending on the person's time, confidence, or interest, sometimes marketer or agency owner or even just a business owner is looking to delegate it right away. What are your thoughts on like what's like the right moment to delegate, right? Or the right time to maybe have someone else handle it?
For me, it's as soon as you can create a practically flawless SOP. And Loom videos, I make, I probably make 5 or 6 Loom videos a day. Loom has become one of my go-to ways to make sure that it's expressed exactly as it needs to be expressed so that the other person can know exactly what to do. Being able to create an SOP, even if it was, following steps in a Google Doc, our onboarding process, we have, all of the steps to the point that if someone, one of my clients calls and they have a problem, I know where it broke down in the onboarding process because of all the things and steps that we cover in order. But I think if you want to grow a business, being able to show someone on your team how exactly you want them to repeat this action. When you're able to do that easily, then I think you can delegate.
Yeah, and meeting people in your situation very often, a lot agree. Where look, there's version 1 through maybe version 15. It all starts with how clear are you bringing those updates to people that are going to be responsible for it. So always making sure you're updating, right, your standard operating procedure, making sure you're updating your study guides, your videos on your onboarding. And that's, I think it brings back to what we initially spoke about, which was, you know, you can create it once and sell it repeatedly based on those version iterations that you are putting out there, because everything changes, but the process of how you share it doesn't change. The
Sure.
process on how you teach it doesn't change. It's just the information, which I find brilliant and amazing because like that's how you grow your business.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm dating myself, but I remember when, Microsoft Windows came out and it was clunky. And, now we're on what, the 3,000th iteration of it. It just got better and better and better, but it didn't stop them from putting out a product. They put out a product that wasn't great and they improved it. And we all bought the next version. At some point down the line, we continued to use it. And I think improving your system is a way to do that too. I know that we have some processes that used to involve 2 or 3 people, and we've been able to narrow them down using AI, using automation. Now one person can handle a task that used to involve a lot of hands. It eliminates mistakes and it provides a very consistent level of service that we're providing.
In your experience teaching others, bringing on clients, how much of mindset is required to stay focused doing all of this? I mean, the list of actions, right, that may be required to, create a duplicatable system over and over. How much of that mindset and execution is really needed in this busy, shiny object world that you had mentioned, where I can find something to do it for me, and then I can implement it, and then I can have someone else do it for me? Like, how did you juggle all of that in your journey?
It was a lot of juggling and a lot of making mistakes. I think the best thing that I did for my business was add a few team members. So in the very beginning, I was the chief cook, bottle washer, and janitor at the end of the night. So recognizing that my strengths lie in sales and product, and bringing on someone who could focus on the operation. Um, One of the skills that I'm working really hard at is finding people who I can communicate an idea that they're equally excited about and that they do. So that if I have a vision, I share that vision, they see the benefits for them, and we're both going to benefit. Now, my time can stay focused on my area while they've been delegated for, that particular task. And the more people who you can add to your team that you can get excited about taking it in a specific direction, now they're inclined to be successful at what they're doing. And when they are, my company benefits. So when it's just me, I have to be responsible for everything. And again, I told you what I think about business owners, not very disciplined because nobody tells them what to do. And sometimes we need that.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's, a lot of business owners got into business for themselves because they want the freedom, because they want the opportunity of being super creative on different things at different times when it works for them.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, what you're trying to share with your experience is put a solid process together for your business and your staff, as well as for your customer and their staff, of the items and actions that are going to happen no matter what. So we know there's going to be the onboarding call. We know there's going to be the check-in call. We know there's going to be the reminder call. Put those steps in place with the human element, and that's how you're able to grow and scale without you're recreating it every time.
Yeah. And because I serve life insurance agents, I know the process is typically, hey, I need leads. I need a system that helps me with my leads. And that first hurdle is overcoming using this new thing. Certainly they may have used a CRM before, but there's so many things in there. This conversational AI lately has become, pretty popular, and it's very helpful. But getting them to, you know, try these new things, try this new technology, get it to work for them. Then the progression is, hey, I need more leads. I'm managing these well. I have more time on my hands because I have systems. I can use more leads, and then finding a way to find the right mix of how we get the more leads. And then ultimately it's, hey, do you need somebody else helping you schedule those leads? Do you need someone else helping you qualify those leads? So because I know those transitions, they're either going up that scale or they're going down. And if they're going down, it's like, hey, this isn't working. I know how to counter that. I know where it's, the ball's being dropped and how to try and get them back on that trajectory to go up.
Yeah, powerful. And if this would have came all together for you sooner, right? It would have been perfect. But what what's so kind about you is that you're sharing your story, and whether someone is watching this going through that type of scenario now, they were just given a ladder to climb up to the top, which is what this is all about, right? Like paying it forward. And it sounds like if you would have known sooner to put these systems, duplicate these different efforts, so that way they can kind of go on autopilot, you wouldn't have to have gone through the trial and error and time associated with it.
Yeah, I think I learned that success is a really poor teacher, and by that I mean I built like a $28,000 a month agency through my magazine. I had about 50 clients paying me, right around $500-600 a month. Some higher, some lower for their ads, and it it wasn't hard, but it wasn't easy. It took me making 45 phone calls and being hung up on or told no 42 times to get three people to say yes so that I could have an appointment. And because I did that every single day, month after month, it worked out. But that's not for everyone. And in doing so, I had a team. So once the magazine was in print, I had the content coordinator, the photographer, I had the printing company. So my role really was focused on just sales. When I transitioned into digital, I didn't have reliable people, and I was using freelancers. And sometimes a freelancer would screw up. And if a freelancer screws up after I've already taken that first payment, guess who has to eat it? When we go find another freelancer. And so going from sales to fulfillment to customer support, it's a lot. And if you're trying to build a business that way, there's enough people who failed at it that you don't have to repeat that process. Um, Start with something small, get some systems in place, get some support, and now you've got some repeatable processes that you can actually scale.
It sounds like you had maybe it wasn't a franchise model, but maybe some sort of you had a fulfillment team before in your print business.
Yeah.
So you went from which is a big difference because if I'm hearing this correctly, right, you found out about HighLevel, you have the sales and business experience, the people skills, the right ambition, excitement, energy. So you go white label. Once you white label, now you're bringing on customers because of your reputation and your knowledge and your positioning, your strategy. So they like Marcus is my guy. Like I've worked with him, I know him. Yes, $700, no problem. So now you ran into a fast problem by the sound of it, where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do everything from taking the money, processing the money, making sure the check cleared or the funds cleared. There's no chargebacks. Give them what they paid for. After what they paid for, make sure they understand that we delivered on it, because they might confuse the result of that for another service they're paying for. And then thereafter that, they want more. And then you're trying to balance how you offer that. Or they say, look, this didn't work. And you're trying to defend that or maybe bring to the light of them, no, we did our part plus more because we understand this would happen. That's like 15 punches in the face without expecting.
Well, I like HighLevel because the integrity that I feel in the product that we're delivering. Um, Certainly, HighLevel has its quirkiness, and it always will. It's a massive program that uses a lot of tools. But at the end of the day, I remember there's a social media trend that I remember. I always thought, hey, I'm going to make this, and it would be with the question, what's the biggest lie you ever told a client to get a sale? And I'll go first. You cannot track advertising. There's no way to tell if a client came from the ad in the magazine or from something they saw on Google. And that was part of the weekly indoctrination calls that, this business had. And we didn't have an answer for it. So literally I could have someone with a full page ad in my magazine and they could say, hey, Marcus, this ad's been running for 6 months. How do I know if I have clients? And I'd repeat the line. Oh, well, there's really no way to tell. I can go right to HighLevel and say, this guy went to this website from this email, he clicked this link and he bought right here. And the minute I knew that, I knew I got to get out of this business because I don't feel good about lying to my clients. And essentially, that's what we were doing. And we were repeating the lie that we had been told to tell because we believed it. But now that I got the full education and knew the digital side of it, feel so much better being able to show real ROI to people who are spending their hard-earned money. I mean, these shop owners, during the pandemic, my magazine took a huge hit because I had people saying, Marcus, I'm paying you $1,000 a month. Nobody's coming in my store. Why should I be paying you? And so I feel a lot better knowing that when someone does pay for our service, we're returning to them, their money and more on that investment.
Especially, when you're wearing the shirt, right? You're the brand. They know you with the company name. It's a lot harder to swallow that pill. It's a lot harder to really, brush it off. And I feel that, if our audience is at whatever journey they're at, taking a few nuggets from this conversation, creating the to-do that anyone can take action from customer to an employee or a freelancer of yours will fast track you into how to optimize what is required in that evolution. So, you bring on client A, and based on what Marcus has shared, they're going through your onboarding is predictable. You're creating the predictability portion of things. And then they're going to throw things at you that may be unpredictable. And then you could bring clarity to that too and help them evolve. And it's all about understanding and communication. And I appreciate you sharing your story because there's a lot of people that, they'll watch a YouTube video, they'll watch some sort of documentary and they say, that I can't do that. You've shared in your story that once you tie down the things that could be done over and over and over, it allowed you to sell more of what you enjoyed and what was working versus picking up and creating something brand new each and every time.
Yeah, I think if you could stop being transactional and trying to make a deal and gain a customer and buy a customer, it's somebody who feels good about what they paid you for and tells other people about it. Just making the sale doesn't necessarily mean that the person who paid you is happy about it. It's kind of, one and done in many scenarios. But if you take someone and their situation is here and through your service, the product you offer, it's an improvement. Now they're happy with you. And as long as you can give back quality or more value than they expected, they're going to be happy with you. They're going to stay.
Yeah, and it's a learning curve, right? It's learning, it's repetition, it's retention, and I appreciate you sharing this because hearing it from someone outside of the circle helps many times. Hearing it from another marketer, agency owner, previous print business owner, that evolution is authentic, it's real, and you went through some scrapes and bruises to get where you're at today. If there's any advice to someone that is watching this that's brand new, that is looking to get into the business of serving others, what would you want to do? What could you share with them to be as transparent as possible of what's ahead?
I might get in trouble for this, but don't pay for a course. Find a mentor, and certainly there's some great courses out there. I've paid for my share of courses, but I think if you could find someone who's gone down the path that you want to travel, and they're willing to help you, you're going to gain a lot more from that than a course that you can easily fall behind or that's designed to reach the masses. I'm a big fan of continuing education. And there are some courses that certainly can benefit you, but just having that one-on-one relationship with someone who maybe is only a few months ahead in the journey than you are, they can help you avoid some of the mistakes, make some suggestions when you have questions. But I would definitely go that mentor route. You can find them in the HighLevel community. There are plenty of people who've helped me. There's one guy, I won't call him by name, but he gave me a set of JSON files. I had no idea what JSON was. And it turns out I took these JSON files and I uploaded them into make.com, and they were scenarios for the onboarding systems that I now have. Now, he didn't give me the onboarding system. He made me go figure it out. And by him teaching me to fish, now I've created, all kind of crazy stuff in make.com, and it's become kind of a hobby for me. But that person helped me with my journey by showing me what was possible. And if I had to do again, I definitely would look for a mentor for this part of the journey. I constantly seek mentors for the directions that I'm headed in.
Powerful. And I agree with you. I've been there myself, and it's hard, right? So, obviously doing your due diligence, obviously asking, the right questions, or asking questions in general, jotting down the responses, and reverse engineering like where you want to be, where you want to go, and understand if they've been there already. I mean, those are the best mentors. If
Absolutely.
I'm looking to be in your industry and I say, Marcus, could you, I want to serve in my local community, insurance agents, what do I need to do to get some of your wisdom and insight, without, you feeling like I'm trying to take your business? And I think it's that transparency where it's like, all right, this guy's a human or this gal's a human. Let me give them a nugget, see how they handle it. And then it's like that seesaw of time. This is worth my time. This
Yeah.
is worth my execution. So I
I mean,
really appreciate you sharing.
apprenticeship is like a lost skill. It used to be, hey, I want to learn how to be a blacksmith. Can I work for you for free? And you show me the things that I need. Um, I think now everyone's afraid, oh, you're going to take my business, or no, they wouldn't teach me. I teach people things all the time. I show things to people that I paid to learn. And I give away, a lot of the snapshots and automations, because I know that just getting over that hump might make it a little bit easier on your journey.
So in the description below, we're going to include, if you're new to HighLevel, or you haven't had a chance yet to create your account, we're going to create a 30-day trial, in the description that you can get in the system. And then, Marcus, if somebody wants to reach out to you, are there any services that you offer to someone in that agency or marketing position?
Yeah, absolutely. I think having that onboard automation, particularly for agencies, I remember, getting started, and every time I brought in a new client, I'd go create this Google file. Now I'm, creating these subfolders, and I'm labeling and doing all this stuff manually. Now, when we drag them from appointment book to one, it automatically does it, depending upon a level of service. Collect the payment, the webhook receives that the payment was made, and now it sends an agreement. They sign the agreement, and their client headquarters is created. So onboarding automation systems, yeah, I'm happy to work with any agencies to provide that.
Awesome. And we'll include your booking link below for them to connect with you. Marcus, before we wrap this up, is there anything you'd like to share before we do so?
I just really appreciate the opportunity. I've learned so much from people within HighLevel, and I'm really glad to be a part of this community. And this is such a great product. Don't sell it.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to plan this out, to jump on, but most importantly, to give back to our community, because that's where the value is truly made, is to give back. So, Marcus, I'm looking forward to see you at our future events, reconnect with you again. Thank you for joining us, and to our audience, thank you as well for joining us. Results may vary, so please do your very best to follow through on the advice, but most importantly, understand that it's the individual effort of your input that matters the most. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us on HighLevel Spotlight Sessions. Take care.